Okay, welcome everyone to the City of Delafield City Council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Molly, if you'd please help me with the roll call.
Yep, sure thing. Alderperson Eicher.
Here.
Commissioner Hausman.
Here.
Commissioner Merrick.
Here.
Commissioner Schultz.
Here.
Commissioner Weiler.
Here.
Mayor Atwell.
Present.
And Commissioner Cahalan and Commissioner Jashinsky are excused for the evening.
Oh, great, thank you very much. Okay, done with roll call. We'll move on to number 4, minutes, discussion of possible action on the following minutes from June 29, 2022 are not available for review or action, so we'll skip the minutes. Okay, we'll move right into number 5. Citizens' comments for items on the consent agenda, just those items on the consent agenda, which is 6A, B, C, and D, and E. Any comments on the consent agenda? Come on up.
Susie Thompson, 700 Milwaukee Street. I would ask that item 6A be pulled out before you go through this consent agenda. I've not met her in person, so I'm sure she's here, and I don't know what she looks like, but I've talked to Victoria. The hours of operation, she's willing to have different than what you see in there, not 5 in the morning to 5 in the evening. And if you'd give her a moment to talk about that, I believe, Amy, she's already talked to you and sent it in, but for the benefit of everyone, if you can pull it out. Is that a proper way to make the request? If you can pull it out and discuss it and then put it back in. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any other comments for the consent agenda? Any other comments for the consent agenda? Hearing none, the consent agenda is now closed. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll like to remove item A from the consent agenda for further discussion.
And I would also just like to add that letter D regarding Blue Rose Dance Studios has been withdrawn from this meeting. She'll probably be returning at next month.
And
All right,
then
so I'll move to approve items B, C. Oh, I'm sorry. Need a second on that. No?
yeah, you need a second. Well, you can make a motion, but I was going to ask to have E removed also.
I would like A and D.
B, C.
I'm sorry.
B and C.
No. So I'd just like to ask for A to be removed from the consent agenda and approve items B, C, and E. That work?
E is, I wanted E as an elephant off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going to stop for a second.
That's why I said B and C. Just B and C.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve B and C on the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. So if you are item B, Michael Graff, or item C, Heritage LLC applicant Laura Schilling, you're approved. You're free to go unless you'd like to stay longer. And A, DLC 0798007 115 Oneida Street, owner Delafield Properties LLC and Milnita LLC, applicant Victoria Rutz. Applicant seeks approval of a business plan of operation to operate a beauty and health service and retail operation known as Incento Beauty. Is she here? Come on up, please. Hi. Can you tell us a little bit about your business and if you'd like to make any changes to your business plan of operation?
So I own Esteno Beauty LLC.
May I get your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Victoria Ruiz, and I own Esteno Beauty LLC and a DBA of Reloaded Supplements, Delafield.
Pull the switch forward.
Hello.
Yeah, just
Okay.
gotta be a little closer.
Just a little closer.
Okay. this good?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Victoria Ruiz, and my business is Ishteno Beauty LLC. And I also have a DBA of Reloaded Supplements of Delafield. I do eyelash extensions, spray tanning, eyebrow threading, and then I'll be selling fitness supplements. And my hours of operation, I'd like to change from 5 a.m. I had listed to opening at 9 a.m.
And why were you originally thinking 5 a.m.?
So I did my research for the surrounding gyms on Milwaukee Street, and they offer some classes at 5 a.m. and most gyms open at that time. So for the sports supplements, I wanted to have accessible for the people going to the gym that early. But a neighbor
Because
wasn't
that's
okay
allowed
with
by the
traffic.
code. I mean, you're allowed to be open at 5 a.m. if you'd like to be open at 5 a.m.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the approval that the planning commission considered.
Sure, Micah.
So it's up to you what you want what your hours to be.
I don't want to upset anybody, so I'll just open at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And then could I do a closing time later than 5 p.m.?
Sure.
Okay.
You can really pick any time you want. I would say make it broader. You can always shrink it.
Oh.
But if you decide to expand it, you got to come back and see us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just a thought. That's a big gap now, 4-hour change. We want to make sure that you have a viable access to the business in the area. If instead of 9 a.m. is 8 a.m. more acceptable, and this way, if you feel, you can just say, well, I'm just going to open my door at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever it may be, but that's an approved time start.
Okay.
So that's just a suggestion if you want to think about.
Okay. Could I change it to 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. then, so then I have some
Sure.
leeway? Okay.
Is that what you'd like?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. I guess that's it.
Okay.
Need a motion to approve it.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the hours of operation.
And item A on the agenda?
On item A on the agenda.
Okay.
Sorry, forgot that.
Second?
Second. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Welcome to Delafield.
Thank you.
Who had the second?
Ed.
Thank you.
Okay, now D was deleted, if I got my letters correct. And E, DLC 07980130001, 607 Main Street, owner Negawica Lake Shop LLC, applicant Handcrafted Barber, Corey Valinicourt. Applicant seeks approval of permanent signage for his new barber shop. Corey, are you here? Corey, are you here? All right, Corey's not here. I was asked to have that pool because I noticed that you don't have any concerns with the sign that he's proposing, but I did notice that he has a barber shop and he has a barber spinning wheel pole, which is exactly the same as the one that's on Costigan's barber shop on the next street over. For whatever reason, he's mounted it on the inside of the glass in his building. And I just wanted to see if he, maybe we can approve putting it on the outside for him as part of his signage. So if he does change his mind in the future and wants to put it outside instead of inside, at least he wouldn't have to come back to us to do that. But I wanted to ask him why he put it on the inside.
Is that something we can just address now and say it can be,
Yeah, if
it can
somebody
be
wants to
either
make a motion-
outside or inside, it's okay?
Yeah, we can add that to the motion right now, and then he has freedom to do it either way in the future.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve item 6A and regarding the barber,
6E.
6E.
Yeah.
Re-
I'll say it today.
We're having alphabet soup tonight.
No,
You're rolling them, go for it.
go for it. And regarding the item that barbers use, Spiral, I'm not sure on the name of it.
Barbara's
Barbara
pole.
pole.
Barbara pole.
Okay, Barber pole. It would be approved to be either mounted inside or outside.
I'll second.
Great. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. Great. Okay, now we're on to number 7, public hearing. Public hearing number 1, rezone to amend zoning district from R3 single and 2-family residential to CBD4 central business district. Address, unknown address on Genesee Street, DELC 0798953. Michelle Kelly, Michael and Michelle Kelly applicant. Okay, is there anyone that would like to speak to public hearing number 1? Public hearing number 1. Anyone like to speak to public hearing number 1? Hearing none, public hearing number 1 is now closed. Okay, we'll go on to number 8, citizens' comments on items other than the consent agenda items and public hearing. So if you'd like to come up and speak about anything else on or off the agenda, now is your time to raise your hand and I'll call you up. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Mary Radel. I live at
Spell your last
700
name, please.
Radle. I live at 700 St. John's Drive. I bought the house 4 years ago approximately because of the charm of Delafield, the relative quietness, and of course I was aware of the downtown area and commercial, and I get that. I clearly, if you lived where I live, you would have concerns over the subsequent items on the agenda. When I called my alderperson, Paul Price, I don't know if he's here, and I appreciated his time in calling me back, and I let him know, and he now, the way it was redistricted, oddly, he lives way on the north side, so he doesn't live near the rest of his constituents. So I asked him, I would really appreciate if he could voice my concerns to everyone. And he said, that's why I moved, because of the noise and the traffic to this area. So I'm not sure if that's a good representation of somebody that lives there. So when I looked at all the unfinished business and the proposals, and they said that it was recommended by a focus group, which I was unaware of. I don't know how that, whatever, I don't know where they came from. Excuse me. So I decided to Google, as you can, and it was very interesting that not one person on the focus group is from District 6. I don't know, it seems odd to me that the people that were are going to be the most affected from that project, not one of them is from District 6. There's 2 from District 1, 1 from District 2, 3 from District 3, 1 from District 4, 2 from 5, and 2 from 7, 0 from 6. So I don't know if you could understand why I don't feel well represented in this issue. The other things that were mentioned was that it was open and transparent, and the only way I was made aware was a neighbor who was notified because they live within 300 feet of the project, and I must live within 500 feet of the project. The traffic is terrible already. I did notice a traffic counter on Tuesday, I believe, at 6 a.m., and I think I'm not sure when they left, but that's summer. No school is in session. It's not the weekend. On a Friday afternoon at 2, I observed myself traffic coming headed south on Highway C, backed up beyond, to the post office, and there was no special event. So I don't know how many of you actually travel down Highway C on a regular basis or turn left onto Highway C from the east side of Highway C. It's terrible. And for you to add more traffic, and we're now going to go from, I believe it's 5 homes to 37. That's just in the St. John's area, not including the golf course. And I personally don't think it's going to be as appealing aesthetically. Obviously, greater than 4 units per acre. That's ridiculous compared to what that area has surrounding it and what it's going to do. I was a realtor in another state, but what it's going to do to the property values of those people that bought homes there is terrible. It's awful. And I am just very disappointed, upset, and if you think that this is going to make it continue to be an attractive place to live, work, and play, you need to live where I do. So I really think you need to think long and hard about what you approve and how it affects the people that live right there. So that's what I have to say tonight. I appreciate your time, and thanks.
Great, thanks for your comments. Who'd like to be next? Who'd like to be next? Phil, come on up.
Good evening, Phil Casson, 1208 Genesee Street. Several points I wanted to make tonight, and the first one was, in my past few years here in the city of Delafield, I'd been told that if people were really concerned, they would show up. And I've always been taking the position that people just are not aware. And in fact, I've had a lot of people come up to me recently out of concern about what's going on. Some who are only a few hundred feet from my house are not familiar with what's going on. One person was even just trying to read tonight's agenda. And I've heard this before, and this is not the first time. I'm educated, and this language must be written intentionally difficult, because it's just not easy to understand. With documents that are so long, it's not something that's easy to digest, and people do want to be represented, want to be heard, and I don't think that happened at the last meeting. There was no request made of the developer other than a tree study and a traffic survey. And what I'd like to point out is the developer made the false analogy comparing this new development to the sanctuary in Heartland. If you can make the sanctuary in Heartland here, fabulous. But they have 12 acres and 30 houses. We have 7 acres and we will have 34 houses. And 3 more new ones just across the street of Wisconsin Avenue. Not to mention, they also have 12 more acres of green space. We'll have about 1/4 of an acre that's going to be used for water retention. It's not an apples to apples comparison. The closest, there is no place, I challenge you, and please, if I'm wrong, publicly tell me I'm wrong, but there's no place in Delafield that you will find 7 acres with lots this size. I don't know if they can follow this, but the smallest lot over in the sanctuary is bigger than the biggest lot proposed here. Every lot here will be smaller. There's 34 lots, and they'll all be smaller. There's a big difference between having 3 houses per acre or 4 houses per acre, and we're going way beyond that. For this zoning area, R4, lot sizes have to be a minimum of 66 feet. That is exactly what the developer has taken it to. He's going to make great houses. I appreciate the fact that he wants to retain control. There'll be quality. If you look at the sanctuary, great. If he can do that here, fabulous. I think people would be happy. I thought it was kind of coy how he just proposed that the city give up 2 cross streets so that there would be more room to build, but no more green space. Another interesting thing is there's 1 lot that's not within Wisconsin and St. John's. It's on Genesee and Wisconsin Avenue. It's 1 lot. There's 1 house there now. And the developer is proposing taking that down to 3 lots. Those lots are all larger. They're 13 to 15,000 square feet. For comparison, the largest lot just to the south, on the next block south, the largest lot is barely over 10,000. So why is he making all of those lots to the north larger? One answer, he's matching the other houses and the way it's been developed. So this development should represent the block just to the north, where they have 27 houses, not 37. Not 34 houses. It doesn't sound like a huge difference, but to have 34 houses in that perimeter, that's basically just under a fifth of a mile long. To have 34 houses is a lot of houses. They're going to be quality, but they're going to be really close together. There's no place in Delafield that will have that. One of two things is going to happen. Last time you gave this the green light for the developer to go ahead. One of two things will happen. Either you will continue to hear comments, and a whole lot more comments, at the next Common Council meeting, and perhaps more comments here. You'll hear more comments, and they'll fall on deaf ears because you won't be making any requests for modifications, or, embarrassingly, you will listen to people's comments finally and take them back to the developer, and then it makes the city look bad. Comments were made at the last meeting, simple requests to avoid the smallest lots in all of Delafield. Even the lots that ring the lake have more square footage than what you're putting in there. There's no reason for this. They're not on a lake. There's no attribute to make these so small. So I hope you'll listen to people, and I hope we can somehow be heard and somehow still work with this developer, despite the fact he's going to have to go back and make expensive modifications to the proposal he was told to go ahead on. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Who would like to be next? Come on up. Name and address, please.
Andy Schneider, address is 419 Wisconsin Avenue. So, I didn't really come in here with a solid plan of what I was going to say, but like the folks that went before me, I've got some significant concerns about the development in that area. So, with my address, I'm directly across the street from the new proposed development, and I have a half-acre lot. So to kind of sum up what he was talking about, there's really not a lot of, based on what I saw, continuity as far as bringing in this development into the existing neighborhood. And then another big concern of mine is water. This may be an only me problem in the neighborhood because I'm not sure what everyone else's situation is. But my well is 35 feet deep, and my pump is 27 feet deep. I've lived there for 18 years. I've changed the well pump out twice, so that's why I know the dimensions really well. And I'm really concerned with the number of houses that are going in, not only directly across the street, but also with the potential development of the golf course, of lowering that water level. And I got to imagine I'm not the only person that has a well that shallow, so I think that's a really big consideration to take in, going forward in your negotiations or decisions. But I'm certainly not opposed to a development of some sort, but I totally agree with everyone that was up here tonight, and I'm sure more comments that you're going to get, that it's an excessive amount of homes based on what we have there existing now and the amount of traffic and all the other things that you've heard tonight. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. Who'd like to be next? Who'd like to be next? In the back, come on up.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Sue Jurgensen, and I live at 403 Wisconsin Avenue. I am right next to Andy.
Can you repeat your address?
403 Wisconsin Avenue. I didn't really prepare anything, but I agree with what everyone else is saying. I bought my home a dozen years ago. What sold me on it was this beautiful area. I mean, it's classy. It's just gorgeous. I am very spoiled right now with my park-like view, as everyone in the area. And I knew that upon purchasing the house that eventually something's always going to get developed. And I agree with that, and I'm fine with that. But I have to agree with Phil and Andy and everyone else that expressed it. Is, for me, it's like there's no real been, I feel, any sensitivity with us in that group of St. John's and the historical part of it or anything. The trees will be gone. There'll be houses 20 feet apart. It's like, what about concerning even those people purchasing that house or those houses? How are they going to have a garden or anything else? Because they can't really do landscaping with 20 feet on each side. My major concerns are my well, as with Andy. Mine is just as shallow. That's definitely going to impact that. Traffic is a massive concern as far as that's 66, feet a lot. That's what, 37 houses. Times that by average is 2 vehicles per household. And if someone has kids and they get older, that's going to be a lot more vehicles. Currently, while St. John's is still open, I know that they can park on the streets around, and they've been excellent with not parking like on the residential sides. They kind of keep it to them, but when they have events while they're still open, I'd love to see them remain in this area. There's like there's nowhere that any of their people, families can come and park for what they do as well. So it's like, I would like a win-win situation. I'm not opposed to beautiful homes going up. My biggest concern is the density of those homes. And I understand tax dollars and everything else come into play, but I would just like to be heard as far as everyone that's up in the area that I've talked to. When they say, where do you live? It's a little upsetting when they say, I'm sorry. And I'm getting emotional because I love my home. I don't want to move. But I love the neighborhood. I love the people. Everyone was saying, oh, that's such a snotty area. I lived out in the middle of the country. So I don't want to get emotional. Lived out in the middle of the country. Everyone helped everybody. I come to Delafield. Boy, if I could kick every one of those people in the teeth that said people were snotty, that was not the case. Warm, well, people want to be here, and it's a fact. But I think we can at least hear the sides of the rest of us who have even monetary concerns of am I going to have a new well dug? I'm a single income person. How do I do that? I don't want to have to attack the city and go, well, because you did this. I think we can come to some sort of balance or consideration with, if you reduce the number of the homes, people can landscape. It'll be more greenery. There's only one, what they call it, a pathway, sidewalk, or whatever that just leads downtown to downtown. But it's what about eradicating one of those lots and having actual nice pathways so we can all walk down instead of being filed? There's a lot to be had in Delafield, a lot to be seen, and it's a beautiful town, and I am extremely proud to live here. But this has me greatly concerned, because Delafield was a selling point, as is the view, but I'm fine with welcoming people into the neighborhood. This is a great place to live, but we all need to breathe. We work hard for what we have, so that's all I ask of you, and I really appreciate you at least hearing me out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for coming up and sharing your comments.
Thank you.
Who'd like to be next, sir? Come on up.
Barry Rogers, 306 Oakwood Drive. My wife Lee and I live at 306 Oakwood Drive, which borders the northeast part of the golf course. First, we'd like to thank you for your time and effort on the Planning Commission representing our interests. Our home was remodeled many years ago to take advantage of the golf course view, with every room having a window looking directly west at the course. As a United States Marine Corps infantry commanding officer in Vietnam at Quai Son and Con Thien, I could only have wished for such a commanding view of the terrain in front of me. While we have enjoyed this wonderful benefit, we are concerned about looking directly at a cluster of 25-plus homes. We would appreciate your help in working with the developer to mitigate the visual impact to us by adding some barriers, such as a berm with pine trees, which would also benefit the view from the homes that are in the new development. We understand there is such a barrier planned for the west side of the golf course. We invite you to take a minute next time you are nearby to pull in our driveway, which is only 17 feet from the property line, to fully appreciate our request. I'd also like to reiterate the things that the other folks have said. I feel the same way about the size of this development. I don't think it's at all similar to what we have in Delafield today. And I don't think you've heard from anywhere near the number of people you're going to hear from once word gets out. Unfortunately, we didn't find out about this until about 10 days ago. No one knocked on our door. We got nothing in the mail. And maybe we don't subscribe to the local paper, but there's a lot of people that are just getting word of this now, and I'm afraid you're going to find out about it too late to make a decision, or maybe make a decision before you know how much resistance there's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who'd like to be next? Sure, come on up.
Hi, my name is Linda Halverson,
Can you
and
spell your last name, please?
my address is 310-312 Oakwood Drive.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Halverson, Halverson.
Thank you.
I am neighbors of Lee and Barry, wonderful neighbors. We have wonderful neighbors on the other side as well. Bernadette and Paul Hansen, and we couldn't be more blessed to have lived here for 25 years, built a side-by-side duplex for my family to take care of my in-laws on the other side with my husband. They helped raise our 3 wonderful boys, and we took care of them until they passed away. Last year, my son got married, and his lovely new wife, my daughter-in-law, decided to move in to where my in-laws lived, and how fortunate that is to continue family in such a beautiful city. I imagine I'm going to have grandchildren someday, I hope. But to be able to go take care of them, to walk the street of Oakwood Drive, which is getting more busy, I can't even imagine with this development, the scale that I'm hearing. And again, we just found out about this because of my wonderful neighbors on both sides. Very concerned about that, very concerned about the well. My husband and I are wondering, well, how that will be impacted. It's just Delafield is our sanctuary. I work in New Berlin. I drive there every day. And to come home to Delafield it's heaven. And very concerned about the development getting too big. And yeah, I'm so glad that I know about this. So please hear our concern. Thank you for hearing us tonight. And I hope you really consider keeping this to a smaller scale and whatever the developer can do. So thank you, and God bless you all.
Yes, thank you. Same to you. All right, who would like to be next? Sir, come on up.
Yes, Paul Hansen. Might as well give you the 1, 2, 3 punch. First you heard from Barry, then you heard from Mrs. Halverson, and I live on the third house from the golf course, 320 Oakwood Drive. Again, my name is Paul Hansen, Hansen. And yes, we've lived there for 23 years now. And it's a beautiful town. We love it. We're used to the golf course, but we realize it's history now. And well, the original plan was if the golf course would ever go, it was going to be R1, and we're absolutely fine with that. But the proposal to put so many houses in there, water will be a problem, traffic will certainly be a huge problem. And I see no reason, especially to change it from anything but R1 to keep the character of the neighborhood. And I think this meeting isn't as well attended as the last one was, but again, I think there was a problem with communication. We had about 100 people here last time, and I'm sure once the citizens are up in arms, you'll hear from more of us then. That's all I have to say, and thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments. Who'd like to be next? Come on up.
Lori Sewall, S as in Sam, AWALL, 511 Wisconsin Avenue. My husband and I own the home that my mom lives in, and I was at the last meeting, so you perhaps remember me. I would love to invite every one of you to bring a lawn chair and come to 511 Wisconsin Avenue in the afternoon and sit in the front yard and appreciate our neighborhood. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And you get the bagpipes in the afternoon. Can't get that anywhere. You can't just buy that. Well, maybe you can. I'm going to restate some of the concerns from last time, and I have a few that I've come up with in the meantime since the last meeting. As the others have stated, we're concerned about the density of this project. We're concerned about green space. We're looking at lots that are 66 feet wide, some 75 feet wide. Shallow lots too, 127 and a half feet. These are small lots. Less than a quarter acre. And then the setbacks. The setbacks are of concern. Tonight we measured that screen over there. That screen is 10 feet wide. That's the side setbacks on these houses, is 10 feet. So double that and you're looking in your neighbor's window. That's how much green space can be between houses, is 20 feet. That's with no variances, not applying for anything. That's just what they can put up without any extra permissions. 25 feet from the road, 10 feet from the back, 10 feet on either side. That doesn't allow for a lot of lawn, and that allows them to put up really big houses. They may be beautiful homes, but these are large homes. Our lot is 66 feet wide. We're one of the narrower lots on Wisconsin Avenue. We are a good representation of the narrow lots that are being proposed. The house is 1,100 square feet. The two-car garage is tucked behind. It's very different. It's been my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, that there was an original proposal of plat for this area that had maybe 34 lots back in the 40s, and not that many were put up. And I don't know if I'm right in that. But the houses of the 40s were very different than the houses that are being proposed, than the houses that we've all come to expect. We don't build 1,100 square foot homes anymore. So this is going to look dramatically different. The north side of Wisconsin Avenue is going to look very different than the south side of Wisconsin Avenue. The south side of Wisconsin Avenue with a 66-foot wide lot is not going to have a garage tucked behind, is not going to have a garage that's side facing so that you see the aesthetic beauty. It's going to have garage doors facing the road. It's going to have garage door after garage door after garage door after garage door facing the road. You're going to have 25 feet by 25 foot pavement driveways in front of these 66-foot wide lots. That's not a lot of green space. That's a lot of parking lot. And that's concerning. So what could we do at this point? What we ask you to do, to consider at a zoning level, stop this. Have them go back to the drawing board. Have them put up lots that are greater than a quarter acre rather than less than a quarter acre. Or have them make the lots maybe 100-foot minimum. Or maybe consider a floor area ratio requirement on these lots that keeps these houses scaled down in relation to the neighborhood, to make it in proportion, to make it balanced with what's currently there, to preserve the charm. Consider more generous setbacks. Consider a 15-foot. Consider a setback that's larger than the size of that screen. 15 feet, 20 feet, more green space. We just ask that we understand developers develop. We look at this in we're not asking for nothing. We know that the park is going to be gone. But we just ask that you add a zoning at this point, right where we are now, that you say, hey guys, we need to change some things. We need to go back to the drawing board. We need to make these lots bigger. We need to have some more green space, more than, as I said in my previous time here, more than a drainage ditch, a walking path, and a few sidewalks. Let's retain the charm of Delafield, of this corner of Delafield this paradise for us. Because, you know, we don't want a parking lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Who'd like to be next? Going once. Oh, are you ready? Come on
Somebody
up.
answer the phone.
There's some shy people out there.
I'm Christine Tuderberg. I live at 1323 McDowell Road. Do you need me to spell that?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Teuteberg. I spoke last time, and it was off the cuff, and so was this. Something my husband and I have been talking about, and we're not sure why it wasn't considered, is when you go down Wisconsin, the way this is proposed, it is driveway after driveway after driveway, all one direction, all front-facing Wisconsin Avenue. Why were the roads taken out that go in between? Or even just have one road in between and change it and then have the walkway. But you change aesthetics when you start turning the roads a little bit. It's going to be one incredibly long straight road, and that's it. And that's what you're going to see on both sides because there's no crossroads. So right now there's two crossroads. I work at home, and part of the reason I want to work at home is I take walks. So twice a day, I set my timer 15 minutes, I go take a break, and I walk. And I walk through St. John's, and I walk through the neighborhood. Our roads are not wide enough to support that kind of traffic that we're going to be getting. And if they have such, yes, it's going to be a parking lot, but depending on how many cars are at one household, they may be parking on the street, unless that's not allowed. I don't know what the restrictions are. But I just cannot understand how you can put so many homes in such a small acreage when I don't know why you can't say that a minimum of a third acre minimum, because I have a third acre and we don't have a huge lot, but at least we have green space, which is everything that they're talking about. I don't know if I believe that our house has to be 50% green and 50% concrete, if we want it that much concrete. But you can't go beyond that. Now, I don't know if this new development is being under those restrictions or not. I haven't done the math. Like I said, this is off the cuff, but that is just something to consider because I know with our neighborhood, that was one of the restrictions. So I would just like to see some sort of variation so that it isn't one garage after another garage. We're going to see some variations. If you have a street going across, go back to the drawing board. I don't care. You're talking about a lifetime. I've been in Delafield 24 years now. I love it here. In fact, my daughter, who grew up in our house, and my other daughter, she lives in an apartment here, but the one who grew up, she bought a house across the street from me, so she's right there on Anderson. So she's not here today, but I have a 3-year-old grandson who comes running across the street when he looks both ways. And I love it, but I don't want to have to worry about him with all this traffic. And it's really going to multiply. And to think about that, it's more cars than what we have now in our neighborhood. So you're more than doubling it. And I just can't imagine. So I don't think I have anything else to say. Otherwise, I am worried about my well as well, because I don't want to have to pay for that. Thanks.
Great, thank you for the comments. Saw 3 other hands go up. How about the guy in the red hat?
That's Orange, Mayor.
I was going to say the same thing.
Good evening. Steve Twillier. I was here a month ago. Thuilliez, 1311 DeKoven. Everybody's pretty much said everything, but I moved into the corner of Wisconsin and DeKoven 33 years ago, and since moved to the middle of the block, I was able to build a house there. I'm probably the newest house in that 3-block neighborhood. And my biggest concern is that there is no harmony with this project in our neighborhood. Everybody's kind of been trying to say that, but I think in those 3 blocks to the north of this development, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's only 4 houses in those 3 blocks are true 2 stories. And that's been alluded to. These houses are smaller square footage, but every house in that neighborhood I know is going to be a two-story. There is no way they're building ranches in there. So our biggest concern is obviously traffic is one. There's going to be almost twice as many driveways, I think, on that other side of Wisconsin. There's been talk that that 50 housing unit is going to come through our neighborhood too. And if you ever walk down Anderson, well, first of all, I'd implore you to all, I mean, as part of this project, just as your responsibility, come and walk through our neighborhood and take a look at the streets and how narrow they are, and look at what kind of houses we have, and then look at what they're going to do over there. They're going to destroy that neighborhood. That's a neighborhood right now. That's not a vacant land. It's not some farm field. It's not a golf course. There's 6 houses, hundreds of trees, 2 streets they want to get rid of. It was proposed to have alleys at one time even. I think the city owns the alleys, owns the streets. I think. So I don't understand why they're walking all over all of us with this plan. So, you know, I guess I really implore you to come and take a walk through the neighborhood. Everybody's been talking about it. That's why we live there. That's why I've been there 33 years. We love it there. And personally, anybody I talk to that lives in the neighborhood looks at this project as a giant wall being put up between our neighborhood and St. John's University. Because it's just a wall of 2-story houses. And we've had the privilege of having St. John's as our neighbor for, I don't know, 6, 7 decades, back to the 50s, 40s, when that neighborhood started to be developed. And that's ending. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you for the comments.
And please, come to the neighborhood. Hang out.
Okay, saw a couple more hands back there. Who else would like to come up? Come on up. You.
Hi, Jennifer Jeske, 110 Hickory Court. Didn't think I was going to make it here. You all received an email from my husband and I, so I just want to kind of bring attention to that. And just to reiterate that I think that changing the land use plan this evening is very premature. I don't quite understand all the fine points between land use and zoning, but I think by changing the land use, you give the developer the kind of green light and the indication that what they have laid out so far is looking good. And as you hear from the other people here tonight, I don't think it is looking good. I think that there are a lot of questions yet that need to be answered, a lot of homework that needs to be done. The traffic study, as I mentioned in the email, is that going to be done before or after the new building is done downtown? I'm guessing they're going to want to hurry up and get that done, but what kind of impact is that new building and the added retail going to have on that traffic study? So there's just, I could go on and on. There's a lot of questions. And I, again, don't think that the right thing to do is to give the developer any kind of indication of a green light until things are answered. Some of that homework is done. And as far as like having people here, though I've been at the last meeting and I presented a list of 20 families, I think it was, that agreed with my comments then. I could have very easily done that again tonight if I had been a little more on the ball. There was a town hall meeting prior to that was a little bit more informal. That was, I think, easily over 100 people. So there is a lot of people, and if that's what you want, to have hundreds of people come and sit and comment at these meetings, that can be done, you know. So I hope that you will listen to the folks that are here and the feedback that you're getting, and like I said, take that into consideration in your decision tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you for coming. Come on up.
I'm still Susie Thompson, 700 Milwaukee Street. reference lot size, we live behind City Hall on the corner of Oneida and Milwaukee. That is Commercial Business District 2, and the setbacks are different than what are proposed for this new development. But our property is 66 foot wide by 92 foot deep. We are a corner lot, so there are setbacks, so it appears that our lot is bigger, but we're 0.15 of an acre. The sidewalk on Milwaukee Street is 6 feet from our house. Some people, when we bought it, said we were crazy. It was built in 1850, and there were 6 raccoons living in the house for the previous 3 years, so I got to trap them and take them to Wildlife in Need. We had 3 walnut trees that were dying. The city took down that were going to fall in the house. There were 2 really cool trees that we loved, but the emerald ash borer defoliated them within 2 weeks, and they had to be, the city arborist told us, we needed to take them down, and those were the most beautiful trees in the lot. Then the windstorm that was 72 to 74 miles an hour took down the other 2 trees that were nice. So we lost all 7 trees that we originally had. However, we replanted 18 trees on our property. They were 12 inches tall to 4 foot tall. That was 5 years ago. We planted 28 bushes. We have a small amount of green grass on our property, but it looks like a botanical garden in our yard. So it depends what you do with your land. You can have a small amount of land. To me, I just retired after 31 years in real estate. The development at St. John's reminds me very much of eastern Wauwatosa and Whitefish Bay. Small lots. In fact, Whitefish Bay was developed with the idea that people would bring long chairs in the front yard when they got home, and other people that walked by on the sidewalks, you'd say hello. You got to know your neighbors more that way. Very few kids played in the backyard, and the backyards were very small in Whitefish Bay intentionally. That was the idea. What I have seen over the years, less people are saying, I want 10 acres or 20 acres or 40 acres. More people say, I want to be in the walkability of downtown. I agree that there will be concerns about how are we going to direct traffic? And I live right downtown, so believe me, I see if the traffic slows down, and if we're coming home, there are different ways that we take, and there are different routes that are possible. And I know that there are different proposals on another possible access to that property. And a neighbor who is a retired architect was spending about an hour the other day with me, and she was bringing up some very wonderful ideas. So when you have an economic development group, it would be nice. She would love to be on a research and input type of group. So it's good to hear what the neighbors have to say. Quite honestly, my experience over the years is nobody likes dramatic changes to our neighborhood. We don't like the idea of something being forced on us that we don't get to have input and say with. The setbacks of what is most attractive is different in everybody's eye. And what you bought and what you have now versus what it was is always different. So I understand and feel the pain of people who live in the neighborhood. Yet when we go 5 years from now and we look at what's there in properties that people like myself are planting trees, I've got trees in my yard that are now 20 foot tall 5 years later. And the people that literally came to our house and criticized me when I was in the garden that we had taken down some trees like the ash that had no leaves on them. We were very strongly criticized, saying that we didn't like trees. I said, are you looking at how many are there? And they're looking at them and they're 12 inches or 2 foot tall. And they said, it'll take forever. You will never in your lifetime see anything out of your landscaping. Drive by our house and see. By the way, every year in spring and fall, I give away $2,000 to $3,000 worth of plants. So if you live in that area and you want any landscaping that are stunning flowers and bushes and so forth, let me know. Free.
Thank you. All right, who else would like to speak? Come on up.
I'm running out of paper.
Good evening. I'm Marty Sewall. I live at 2234 West Shore Drive, but I also own the property at 421 Anderson Drive. My property on Anderson Drive is almost an acre. It's up on a hill. Anderson Drive and Wisconsin Avenue, the street. If I go to the Anderson property with my pickup truck and anyone's coming the other way, they need to go off the road or I need to go off the road. The roads are only about a car and a half wide, so adding that kind of traffic to either of those roads is almost ridiculous. The lot sizes concern me in both developments. I would rather see them kind of match the surrounding areas. Like the golf course, that they would have larger lots similar to the ones, across the way, across Oakwood from them and behind them. And the ones on Wisconsin Avenue, that there's no way we want West Dallas and Delafield. I mean, it's almost like old Milwaukee, where you put two-story building up and you can hand your neighbor a toilet paper roll through the window. If we made it, similar to the ones on Wisconsin and Anderson, lot size-wise, then we're keeping kind of symmetry in the neighborhood, which I think that's kind of what everyone's looking for, and not just packing them in. Of course, the developer would like that because you get more money that way. More houses, it's more money, but I think we need to keep the Delafield looking like Delafield, and keep the neighbors happy, keep developers happy, and make it look nicer. That's it.
Okay, thanks for the comments. Anyone else? Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Citizens' comments are now closed. Thank you for all those good comments.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on to number 9, unfinished business, 9A, DLC 0798953, Genesee Street, owner Michelle Kelly, applicant Michelle and Michael Kelly. Applicant seeks approval of rezone from R3 single and 2-family residential to CBD4 Central Business District to accommodate the dental clinic.
Michelle.
Yep. You've been here so many times, I'm surprised I have to tell you.
Hello.
What is this, number 8?
I have no idea. I haven't had this since like October, November. I've lost track.
Yeah.
I'm Michelle Kelly. I don't even know what the address is anymore. It's been so long. Delafield Street, Genesee Street, and the lot next door, and we're looking to put the house or the business on the lot.
Okay, we'll have Amy give an overview for where we're at.
So this property is in the northeast corner of Genesee Street and Poplar Path. We've talked about it for many, many months. And so what has occurred so far is the strip along Genesee Street south of Town Bank, the land use plan has been amended to central business. However, it is designated as a special use area, which gives the discretion, much more scrutiny is available to the Plan Commission and Council in making decisions regarding exactly what uses can be allowed, because there is quite a mix of residential and commercial. And then we moved forward, and the Plan Commission and then Council approved a new zoning district, CBD4, which again is a more restrictive central business district for these transitional areas. And so now the applicant on the southernmost lot is proposing to rezone their property to CBD4. So tonight's meeting is truly just to rezone it. I think it's important to acknowledge the use that they're proposing is the dental clinic, but beyond that, they will have to come back at future meetings with specific, more detailed site plans. They have to do a plat of survey, which might change the location of Genesee Street, which will then affect the right-of-way or the setback of the building proposed along Genesee Street. They need to do their detailed stormwater management, provide a landscape plan, lighting plan. I think they're updating their architectural rendering. So you will have much more to review. But at this point, they are looking for approval for the CBD4 district so that they know they can move on with those investment costs on specific site planning. Just one more reminder, the CBD4 district does require a higher level of review, which all developments that are not residential in nature are required to go through a plan development conditional use permit. So when they do get those detailed plans, we will schedule another public hearing, and there will be another meeting here, at least one meeting here, and then another meeting at Common Council to review the development of the site.
So given that and the details involved with this new zoning district, I'm going to recommend and make a motion to help Molly out, very precisely to your letter that you included, which is recommend to the Common Council to approve an ordinance amending the zoning district on the subject property from R3 single and two-family residential to CBD4 central business district, subject to review and approval of a plan development conditional use permit by the Plan Commission and Common Council for a proposed dental clinic. If there's any future proposed change in use, the plan development conditional use will need to be amended accordingly. That was my motion.
Second.
Second by Laura?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. One more step down.
Thank you, guys.
Now we're waiting on you. Okay. 9B, DELC 0792990 Oakwood Drive and DELC 0793997. Owner Hendricks Commercial Properties LLC, applicant John Kenman. Hendricks Commercial Properties LLC, applicant seeks approval for a land use plan amendment from the institutional category to the low-density residential category to accommodate a proposed single-family residential planned unit development on the former St. John's Military Golf Course. Molly? Amy, can you please give us an overview?
I can. I
Of
have
where we're
to.
at
Sorry,
and-
I'm playing with my shared screen here. So we've also discussed this property at our last meeting. Everybody within 300 feet of St. John's was notified of the last meeting, and then they were also notified of this meeting and the upcoming public hearing that's going to take place at Common Council. So they should have received individual notification. And then it's also been noticed in the paper for the upcoming Common Council meeting. So the property is currently in the institutional category. And I'm going to zoom, hold on. So I should just be clear. There are three separate proposals that are on the agenda tonight. Right now, we are only talking about the golf course property. So it's the long rectangular property in light blue. So the property is no longer owned or operated by the school, so it does need to be put into another category. And so I just want to talk about the different categories that are available to you, or that are at least nearby to this site. So on the west side of the property, I don't recall the name of that subdivision, but that's low-density residential, which is what the applicant is proposing. So they're proposing to extend the land use category to the east from what exists already in the subdivision to the west. And then the, let's call it.
So what's on yellow?
That's Valley Road Place.
Valley Road, yeah, here, I'll put my cursor
Yeah.
on here. So on the screen, the yellow property to the west, Valley Road Place, is in low-density residential. So that is the category that the applicant is proposing to go to. They're proposing to extend that existing land use category to the east.
That whole big
So
light
this
blue-
rectangular, I'm putting my cursor on it,
So that
this
would have this-
rectangular piece.
That would have the same land use as the land use to the west.
Okay, then just to give you some context, I'm going to call it orange. So I'm putting my cursor on it because these colors are a little deceiving. But the orange to the northwest and the orange to the east is currently in medium density category. So that's 4 units per acre. That would be more dense than what the applicant is proposing. And then the brown area north of the development is, I believe it's part of a plan unit development, so the lots are smaller. but it is in a 2-acre land use category. So I just wanted to show this map to give you some context of what's nearby, because they really do need to amend the land use category because it's no longer a school site. I mean, there's the one square that is used by the school, but it is owned by Hendricks. So those are probably that usually when we look at this, we look at the surrounding land uses and choose the most appropriate category that is adjacent to that use, provided the city has the services to accommodate it. So what the applicant is, again, proposing the land use plan amendment tonight, there's several steps to a development when a land use plan is proposed. First, they need to get approval from the city for an appropriate density category. Because if they invest, they did come up with a concept plan last month for proposal, but there's only a certain level of investment that a developer typically puts into it without knowing whether or not they can even have the density in the first place. So there's significantly more stormwater management. You can have them do some testing to determine the impacts of well construction. They're in the process of doing a traffic impact analysis. So there are landscaping plans, draft declaration of restrictions. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they will need to come forward during future meetings. So right now, though, we're trying to narrow down or provide input on what the appropriate density is. In this case, it's a little bit unique in that the property is already zoned RE1, which is a 1-acre category. So they're proposing to match the zoning. Usually you have to also zone the property to a different category, but they do meet the RE1 zoning, which is also matches the zoning to the west.
So they're asking tonight to turn the light blue area, tall area, yellow, just like the one to the west, and they're saying that they will be consistent with the 1-acre zoning in that area.
That's correct.
That already exists.
So if it were...
So that's what we're talking tonight about, land use, just land use. We're not talking about development and streets and all that kind of stuff. We're just talking about land use tonight. And then the land use moves on to the next stage. Then we have another meeting where they come in and spend all this money to get a lot of these answers to all these questions and go through yet another review and approval process at multiple meetings. I'm just trying to frame the bigger picture for everybody that's in the room to be helpful. And we're not allowed to answer questions.
Yeah. And so I'll
She'll go through the timeline.
So so they came in for a conceptual, just to provide you an idea of what they're conceptually proposing for a development at last month's meeting. Sometimes that changes as the details develop. At this meeting, they're proposing the land use plan amendment. The Plan Commission has to make a recommendation or adopt a resolution in order for it to go to the next level, which I do have a draft resolution in the event you want to act tonight. Then it goes to Common Council where there's actually a formal public hearing. So that would, if the Plan Commission adopted a resolution, the formal public hearing is August 15th, again, just for the land use plan amendment. And then if the Common Council approved the land use plan amendment, because they already are zoned appropriately, they get to skip past the zoning piece of it. They would have to meet RE1 zoning.
For just the golf course.
For just the golf course, but they need to do a planned development conditional use, which is also a recommended condition of the resolution for the land use plan amendment, that the city has to review and approve a planned development conditional use. And that is where you have the authority to get very specific with what you are looking for regarding the development, road construction, landscaping, easements, trails,
sidewalks,
so on and so forth. But again, right now we're looking at the overall density category to put this property in. And I guess I should add, let me just go back, if you don't mind a second here. Takes me a while to play with this. Oh. I just want to go over the Economic Development Focus Group project, which everyone in the city, including renters and owners, should have received a posting in advance of that group starting to meet.
Postcard. Every
And
address
then,
in the city.
there was a website provided in that postcard. A survey was available to the public, and all of the meetings were posted, and all of the information provided at the meetings, videos of the meetings were all provided on that website. And it is still available.
Go on YouTube.
If you go to www.delafieldgrowth.com, all of the meetings, all of the information related to the focus group are available to you. So I just want to go through the proposal of the focus group, because the applicant's proposal is actually lesser than what the focus group recommended. So they talked a lot about trying to get more people into downtown to help provide those customers to the businesses and provide the residents the opportunity to live downtown within a walkable distance, because it's very hard to find housing in the downtown area. So they felt this development would be appropriate for medium density residential, which would allow up to 4 units per acre. And what's important about that is just because a category says 4 units per acre or more than 4 units per acre, or even 1 unit per acre, it doesn't mean that at the end you have to allow that maximum amount. It's just it's the long-term vision for the site. So they had recommended medium density residential in the area designated as green. And then actually the south end of the site is high density residential, thinking that might be more appropriate for like townhouses or condominium style development, and then having some kind of a landscape strip on the western edge. And then so that was the recommendation. The developers met with the homeowners of that area and had quite a big meeting and decided to honor the 1 acre density and zoning. So that's all I have to add. I do have a resolution drafted in the event you want to pass this item tonight. And they are currently working on a traffic impact analysis.
So we have the applicant here, but for land use, they don't really provide a lot of value. So if you have questions, they're here to ask them a question. For land use.
Even though he has no value. That's a name and address.
All the rest of the meetings will bring a lot of value, but not so much on land use. So he is here to answer questions that you have. But what questions do the commissioners have of Amy?
I've got a couple, but why don't you? So who are we talking to?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Mike Henry. I'm with Hendricks Commercial Properties. I am an assistant development manager for that company based out of Beloit. Here in place of John Kemen, who is out today.
All right. So I'd just like to throw a few things in. This is going to kind of blur a few lines between the two different proposals, but
because right now we're just talking about.
I know, but specific to this one, I made an educated purchase back in 1999 when I bought a house in Valley Road Farms, just north of here, and was very much aware of the fact that the golf course was zoned the way it's zoned, and it's remained that way. And the fact that you're honoring, you don't have to honor it, you have to follow the law. It was zoned that way. If you want something different, you have to ask special permission, and you're not. You're complying with the zoning that was there back in 1999 when I bought my house. The odd things that I discovered as a personal note are, I'm not sure why I raised 5 daughters this close to a St. John's Military Academy. When they were advertising for dates for dances and stuff back in the day. But I do regret the fact that I did not look into ways to walk downtown from my house. So part of this development is a key portion of this is pathways, both pieces. Most importantly, the golf course piece. But so that's a big win, I think. 22 years later. And when we get onto the other development, I'll say more. But there's other things about wells and that I'll talk about. But I think that honoring the long-standing zoning that was on the city's master plan back in the late 90s is what I expected when I moved in, and I would rather look at golf course, and that I don't like the dying ash trees, but or maybe some of the language that comes off of some of the tees, but I think what you've laid out is in compliance with what I expected when I bought my house. So that's where I'm going to leave it.
And I'll just point out, tonight we're not really talking about trail construction. That's part of the detailed development. But since Tim mentioned
Stay on land use.
I'm just going to point out that everything on red on this map is what he's referring to as a proposed trail system, which would connect to Cushing Park.
Yeah, and so I'm not trying to defer people's concerns either. I'm not trying to act flippant about it, but this is a step, and it's not the zoning. It's the art of any development, as I've learned over my past 10 years on Plan Commission, is in the general development plan and the specific implementation plan, and how we deal with the concerns of the neighbors as far as headlights, vision lines, what they're going to look at instead of sunsets, and all those other things. So that's to come. Those are in those upcoming meetings that we talked about. This is not being decided tonight based on a land use plan change. So that's my read on it. I'm wholeheartedly in this piece, totally endorsing this particular part of it. So based on my representation of the district to the northwest and me being a resident there.
Other commissioners?
In the write-up, it mentions the traffic analysis. What I'd like to see is combining this with 705 and the St. John's Road, Wisconsin, so we get a holistic feel for how that's going to look. I don't know if that's possible or how we can.
Staff has asked that to be stacked.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, the traffic study is in progress. Actually, we've started that. I'm not sure if we have included 705 in that, but at least everything you see on this map and then to the slight east, the Miller-Marriott proposal, that'll be stacked on top of each other in the traffic study.
Okay, thanks.
I believe the city engineer asked for the impacts of the stoplight downtown.
Okay.
Stop what?
Stop signs.
Stop sign.
Good
Stop
grief.
sign.
Don't say stop sign.
So maybe
Nobody's proposing a stoplight.
No, but absolutely, I agree with the other commissioner that we need to combine these traffic studies. We have one that's pending, that's under development, and two that are under consideration. They should be combined into a total. Use the results of one to benefit the others, to show where the traffic's going to stack, what the wait times are going to be, where we're going to go from level 2 to 3 to 4 at different stop signs and stuff. And the city's doing other things with trucking on the side, but I think that's imperative to dissuade the concerns of the people about traffic, which I also have. There's some tricky intersections all the way up Genesee, specifically the Oakwood and Genesee, and then some of the sight lines on Wisconsin Avenue and these other ones. So I think the traffic study is paramount as far as next steps following the land use.
Question. I want to just make sure that I'm clear on this. This template that we have for the St. John's golf course, is this going to change, or is this going to remain the template as we see it now?
It may change. So if the land use plan gets approved, then they move into more detailed engineering. They have to do more detailed engineering, make sure that the stormwater management is acceptable. I have no idea if they're proposing any changes based on comments from the last meeting yet.
I meant the lot sizes.
Oh, the lot sizes. They may or may not change. We're still working with them on the lot number count.
Okay.
Based on 1 acre density. So
this is kind of.
That's their initial concept plan.
That's their preliminary.
It may or may not change. We'll have to move forward.
I just want to make sure that everybody out there understands too.
Yeah. I don't imagine it changing a lot, but it certainly could, change some.
Okay.
All right. If there's no other questions, then we'd be looking for a motion so we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt the enclosed resolution, amending the land use plan from institutional category to the low density residential category on the subject properties. And no changes will be made to the area designated as parks the land use plan amendment is subject to any development taking place as a planned unit development conditional use permit.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
We'll move on to 9C, DELC 0792074, 439 St. John's Road, DELC 0792069, and DELC 0792078, 411 St. John's Road, and DELC 792073, and DELC 0792060, unknown address on Wisconsin Avenue and St. John's Road, owner Hendricks Commercial Properties LLC, applicant Christopher Miller, Miller Marriott Construction. Applicant seeks approval of a land use plan amendment from the institutional category to the high-density residential category to accommodate a single-family residential development on property located between Wisconsin Avenues and St. John's Road. Amy, if you want to give us the overview, like you did on the
Sure.
last
So
one, please.
same thing, they proposed a concept development at last month's meeting. And again, the public was notified of this item as well in advance of that meeting and tonight's meeting, in addition to the Common Council meeting, everyone within 300 feet anyway of all of the St. John's holdings. So they are proposing high-density residential in this. So I'm just going to go back to this land use plan map because I think it's important to understand the context in relation to adjacent properties. Where I have my cursor right here, the northern block of institutional west of Genesee Street. And so they've got, institutional adjacent to them, that's lake residential to the east, and then medium density residential to the north. What's interesting about that is that block directly north of them is zoned R4, which allows 7,900 square foot lots. So the zoning is a little bit more dense than what the land use category is calling out for. And then, hold on a second here. I want to show. I'll just go to this map. So the plan commissioners, you all have this map in your in front of you. Okay. So they're proposing high-density residential. Part of the design came from this original plat, and this is important to understand. So there is a subdivision plat that's recorded out there, and if you look here, there are 3 blocks between Wisconsin Avenue and St. John's Road. All 3 of those blocks have 12 lots, so there's 36 legal lots of record. Per state statutes, you have to honor those legal lots of record unless somebody constructed a home that crosses a lot line, or I think there's one other item. So in this case, they would potentially lose a couple lots here. I think there might be a house that crosses between 2 lots on the west side, maybe 2 houses in that middle block, and then another house on the east side. So they legally may go from like 36 to 31 or 32 lots, but they could actually proceed with the land development and use these old legal lots of record in order to do that. So I think that's really important to understand regarding the intensity of the development. We do have limitations regarding our what we can or cannot deny. With that being said, it is planned institutional because it was used by a school, so you are the ones that have control over what density category, how many houses can actually be built based on the category that you put it in. The property to the north, that block is zoned R4, and so they're proposing that same kind of that same zoning, which is not on tonight's agenda, and I'll go through that process. But that's where the lot sizes and setbacks and offsets are coming from, is to mimic the zoning category to the north, which seems to match this old subdivision plat actually. Or pretty closely to that's in this block itself. So again, for tonight's meeting, they're just proposing the land use plan amendment to go from institutional to high-density residential, which is the category that the focus group recommended as part of their project.
Which would allow them to potentially in the future petition for R4 zoning, which is matching the R4 zoning to the street adjacent to the north, correct?
Right, so they would need to go, you would have to adopt a resolution. There would have to be a public hearing at Common Council, and they would have to adopt an ordinance to amend the land use plan. Then they need to come back and they need to propose a rezone in order to propose that R4 zoning. And as part of that rezone, you do have some discretionary authority. If I think somebody said, should setbacks and offsets be increased or whatever, you have the authority to conditionally rezone those properties, so you could do that. But that's that level, and then they need to come in as either part of that or following that, depending on how comfortable you are with. They have to go through a preliminary plat and a final plat, and so those steps will also give you the ability to review landscaping, stormwater management. The roads will have to meet city standards. They're proposing to vacate these two interior roads and stuff, but that's really not the subject to what you're reviewing tonight necessarily. It's the density.
Tonight's land use, and they're asking for a land use that'll allow them to have the same zoning potentially in the future that's directly to the north.
The land directly to the north.
The north side of Wisconsin Avenue.
Is it classified as medium or high density?
It's medium density.
It's medium, but it was built to R4, so for somehow it got built to a zoning code that's above the land use.
Okay.
Well, a lot of the zoning was put in place after homes were already here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so,
Yeah.
I mean, the city's only barely 60 years old, if that. So I know we tried to make uniform zoning back when the city was established to match, get some sort of template in place to match what existed. So it's very common along lake homes too, where there's non-conforming houses all over the city, just trying to put people in categories to maintain some consistency. But so I'll make a comment on this. I think that the proposed land use category matches what's there. As far as the density, if you look to the north, but there was some very good points made by citizens in the comments over the types of homes that are to the north. I mean, you can be on a third of an acre and you can have a 1,800 square foot house and you can be in R4 zone district. With the idea of putting a wall up between you and downtown, you could, you can stack a pretty big house in front of you in downtown and create a different, one of the things we're trying to do as a plan commission is maintain character of neighborhoods. And so this is going beyond land use. It's kind of giving my recommendation as a preview to the next step, and that is there needs to be some consideration for the zoning step and the type of homes that would be along the northern border of this subdivision to be in the same character close to what they're adjacent to the north. In other words, maybe height restrictions, maybe ranches. I mean, they're very common. It's very highly desired in the home market today. So I think the zoning matches, but it's possible based on what people said, the neighborhood might not match, right? And we're supposed to help maintain harmony and congruity with the neighborhoods. So when we get into the next phases of this, even though I'm in support of the type of zoning land use plan that's proposed, I think we need to take a very, very good look at the types of homes and the subdivision covenants and the development plan that transitions this neighborhood into the adjacent neighborhoods. And paramount to that is people's appreciation to the fact that St. John's is such a nice contributor to the community and the neighborhood and downtown and what we're all about, this helps support them. A successful development around St. John's helps support St. John's into the future, and I'd like to see them stick around. So I mean, I'm in favor of a development that helps St. John's and the community. So anyways, the first step is a land use plan. I'm good with this, and I think you're going to get some more scrutiny when it comes to the general development plan and specific implementation plan. So.
Yeah, I too have a lot of questions once we go down this road. I have a list.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So those are my points. Like I said, I live 300 yards from here. So.
Yeah.
And I think, so with the rezone, they will have to be placed on the agenda to schedule a rezone public hearing. And so that would be a really good time to give them honest feedback so that they don't come back for the rezone to hear comments after they've designed something for that hearing. So that will be an important meeting. And then I just want to point out, because at the last month's meeting, they did show 3 lots being developed on the north side of, is it Anderson? Am I on the right street? Wisconsin, yeah. Sorry, I went too far north. That didn't look right.
Between Wisconsin and St. John's.
This rectangle here, that is not part of the land use plan amendment or the rezone amendment. So just keep that in mind. That was part of their conceptual development, but their 3-lot land division complies with zoning and land use, and they could propose that as a CSM at any time.
With this approval, are the elimination of those streets in that?
Nope.
Okay.
The land use plan amendment?
Yeah. Mm-mm. Okay.
Portions of that, somebody had asked about the alley, just for your information.
Yeah.
Portions of them have been vacated and portions have not.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a mess.
It's been a long time. I've lived here 49 years. When I moved here, we were 3,000 people. So I've seen a lot of changes. And I used to go to these grounds because they used to have the art fair there. And I always loved it because it was so beautiful. And last week I did drive through the neighborhood. I have a friend who lives on Anderson. And it is a beautiful area. And I keep reminding myself, we call this lake country. And I would emphasize country. And any development, I think that's what sets us apart from other communities around here, is that we have that country feel. So I hope that in your plans you remember that. And that's what people here have gotten to expect, is that we hang on to this feel of country. That's all I got to say.
I guess I would echo the same. I mean, you heard everyone's comments, so a lot of things that you'll be addressing in the meetings coming forward.
Yeah.
Can I, am I allowed to?
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely
I'm
allowed to
sorry.
speak, yeah.
I didn't know if I was or not.
This is not a one-way.
Okay. First off, I do want to say the feedback is great. And we pride ourselves in not only being a unique builder, but also a land developer. And when we had the opportunity to look at this property, it's something that I feel we're really good at. And for a lot of the reasons of the concerns in this room, that we don't look at this property the same way a lot of other builder developers would. We have unique home designs. We aren't looking this to be monolithic and garages. And some of the streetscapes we've done for the community already are actual homes to actual sizes with actual setbacks. And I just want to, run down a couple of things because we are concerned that this fit the neighborhood. It's important to us. There's a lot of talk of the 66-foot wide lots. It's already been a concern of ours, and that's why we only propose some of them. Only a third of them are 66, is what we proposed. The other ones are 75 feet. So 2/3 of the lots are 75 feet. There's a comment that this can't look like the Sanctuary of Heartland. The Sanctuary of Heartland, the lots are slightly bigger, but they are 10-foot side yard setbacks. I would encourage everybody to drive in there and see what 10-foot side yard setbacks look like. Because what happens is homes do get pushed together because we want side garages. We don't want front-facing garages.
I think it will be misleading for me to say that none of the garages will be front-facing, but like we did in the Sanctuary of Heartland, we designated the lots that we could do front-facing to limit them. We are wholeheartedly in favor of that. This is a very unique property. It needs to be treated sensibly. Couple other items that, you talk about green space and open space. R4 zoning in the city of Delafield already calls for 4,000 feet to be open. Some of these lots, that's at least half the lot has to be open. So we have to design a home that someone wants to live in that has that much open space in R4. That is being sensitive. You talk about traffic. Traffic, we need to be sensitive to. That's why we're proposing sidewalks. We want people to not be on the street so kids have a place to walk and get down to the city center safely. We've proposed that the roads get bigger so cars can pass each other safely. There's a lot of thought that we've already put in. I appreciate the comments. I instructed my office, and I know we sent a mailer to all the homeowners ahead of the last meeting because we aren't ashamed of anything we're proposing. We are very sensitive to this, and we want feedback, but we're not trying to hide what we're trying to do. We think this can be lovely for the city of Delafield and the neighbors and make it better. So it's just a few comments, but there's a long road to go yet.
Sounds good. Any questions from the commissioner? Otherwise, we're looking for a motion.
I just want to run, well, Chris is up there. I guess I'm struggling because that sanctuary is gorgeous. I mean, that'd be great. I'm trying to conceptualize how this would compare because with the sanctuary, you've got curving cul-de-sacs, different shapes of lots. Some are pie-shaped and wider in front. This is a totally different aesthetic. So you don't have to answer now. We're jumping the gun here. But what I would look for is how do I look at that and say it's even similar? Because you envision gorgeous houses, but again, the perception is very tightly put together. I think that's what people are concerned about. So the challenge for you is going to be how will that, number one, not look like it's a cookie cutter one against the other, and number two, again, trying to make it fit. So more comments. If you want to comment, that's fine. Otherwise, we can move forward.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a great question, and I think that's what we're good at. These homes are going to be custom designed for these homeowners, and by varying lot widths and creating different elevations, I would anticipate a lot of these to be ranches. I think there's going to be a lot of empty nesters that want to be in here, but there might be some 2-stories as well. But that can all be vetted out through this process. But I think the key is what the house looks like. Is it a porch? What side of the lot is it on? Where is the garage on that house? How is the garage concealed? Some might have the garage all the way in the back. Some might be towards the front on the side. All those houses will have slight variations to them to give a great streetscape. And quite frankly, we have the capabilities to provide a lot of those to the committee ahead of time of what we conceptually think this could look like with homes and what that feel would be.
Thank you.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution on page 65 to recommend amendment to map 74 City of Delafield 2030 Master Land Use Plan map, part of the 2030 Comprehensive Plan relative to the subject properties being discussed.
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a note. Anytime, I know somebody gave me this memo, but anytime I've used stationery like this to print out something, I've gotten in trouble with my wife. So it's just trying to make some humor out of this.
I want to even.
But I really like the stationery, but it's always gotten me in trouble.
I think we got.
But I know we've got the devil's in the details, and the details are coming. Is really what I'm trying to get at.
All righty. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Nope.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in the future. Okay, we'll move on to 9D, DELC 0792059, DELC 0792061, DELC 0792062, DELC 0792063, and DELC 07920580001. 925 Genesee Street. All properties are located south of Exeter Street and east of Spanger Street. Applicant City of Delafield. Applicant seeks approval of land use plan amendment from the institutional category to the high-density residential category in accordance with the Economic Development Focus Group recommendation. Amy,
Okay, so
final one.
this property is, or area, it's not property, it's several, is in the southeast corner of the St. John site. So the mayor just explained the description, but I'm putting my cursor on it. It's this, I'm going to call it a triangular piece that's designated in red. So the focus group last year did recommend that this also go into a high-density residential category. I think with the idea that it could possibly house some like townhouses or condominium style development. So that would potentially allow more than 4 units per acre. That does not mean that a development will come in and necessarily be 4 units per acre or more. We have not received any development proposal for this site. So this is just we're proposing this recommendation as a proactive measure in order to move forward the focus group's recommendations, which was intended to identify opportunities for responsible and sustainable economic growth, and then use those opportunities as a key tool to balance the city's budget and ensure that the city is still a great place to live, work, and play, which was mentioned earlier today. And the reason why we're pursuing it prior to development is in an effort to be proactive in order to encourage that responsible growth.
Just a reminder, this includes the post office as well, which has a lease that is up in a few years.
Is it a good time to, because I wondered about that. I don't know that I've ever seen a situation where somebody's made a post office move.
Well, they rent the space.
They lease.
Hendricks owns the building.
Right.
They rent it under lease to them, and the lease expires, so they may choose to renew it or not allow them to renew it. So it very likely could get developed in the future is all the point I'm trying to make.
Right. I guess I just wondered how.
May not always be a post office.
It doesn't mean they're evicted if we change the land use.
No, that's
right.
Absolutely true.
If the beds need to stay there, they'll sign a new document based on the property owner's discretion.
Right.
Well, they did move there from right over here. Years ago, they were right around the corner here where the bank is. That's where the post office used to be when I moved
So
here.
this is a motion to change land use for that particular property?
For the entire triangular area in red. Not the rectangle.
What else does that include?
Did I say triangular?
Right on Highway C there, what is that last property? Do you know what that is? I mean, I'm trying to.
Right here?
It's all owned by Hendricks.
What is
Aren't
that?
those
Let me
St.
just
John's
see.
buildings?
That's not the little
I don't
red.
think that's buildings. I think that's where they have like those really old buildings where they park some of their agricultural equipment.
Oh.
No.
So that's Liberty, is it Liberty Park? So I mean.
No. What's on Genesee Street?
Isn't that the post office?
Yeah, the
Is that just the post office to the south? So it's south of there. Okay.
That's the only improvement, if that helps.
Yeah, behind it is just St. John's. There's like a little
And
repair building.
Salix Karate is on the south side of the river.
Some of those buildings are, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
So just trying to provide perspective. So it's a post office and then
Hold on.
some St. John's miscellaneous use and then Salix Karate is on the south side of the river.
Right, that's not included.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So do you see?
It kind of goes uphill.
But St. John's doesn't own Liberty Park, right?
No.
Yeah, and it's not, so that other map the legal description of the resolution is specific to tax key numbers. The map I showed you just cuts a line through. It doesn't include
So
Liberty Park.
Liberty Park is city's
This
property.
western part is
I
kind
hope
of up on
so.
a hill, isn't it?
No, but
Yeah.
do we know so?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
so-
it's the city of
We know
Delafield.
so.
This,
we know
everything in yellow is the city of Delafield.
Right.
Gotcha.
And then, so the proposal is north of that yellow line. I think I drew a straight.
If I remember, the western part is up on a hill and it kind of overlooks the river.
The,
This
like
is-
right in here?
Yes, it does all pitch down towards the
And so
river.
this is item 9D, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to change the land use plan for the properties listed under 9D on the agenda.
2.
I'll second.
As recommended. I mean,
Okay.
No, I second.
There is, can I just add something, maybe more for the public?
Under discussion, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead. We're under discussion.
Oh, some of this acreage is in the primary environmental corridor, and it is limited to a density of 1 unit per 5-acre density. So there are overlays that take place. People don't get any credit for density in the wetlands or floodplain either. So
Right.
I just want to, as a reminder, just because you have 10 acres doesn't mean you're going to get 40 plus lots.
Yeah.
and there's
That
not
gets-
going to be boathouses on the river, and there's not, I mean, those are, I mean, there's, saying, the development we just approved earlier for the golf course had some similar environmental corridors that were involved that
Yes.
they don't get credit for. Okay.
All right, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, we're on to 10, new business. Discussion and possible action on the following items. DELC 0, this is our Skype person. DELC 0803994, 2675 Sun Valley Drive. Owner E&K Land LLC, applicant AJ Singh. K. Singh, on behalf of Johnson Financial Group, applicant seeks site plan and appearance review and approval of the redevelopment of the site to accommodate Johnson Bank. Amy, you want to give us an overview while we get Skype going and AJ up?
Yeah, so I have the, do the app?
Oh, and we have people here too.
It's after the whole meeting. What do you want to come up here and say?
We have AJ on Skype because he's down with an illness, and then we have his 2 partners.
I am Nathan Zawicki with the Remen Company.
What was your name again, sir?
Nathan Zawicki, Zywicki.
And you're going to want to move that mic a lot closer.
How about
There
there?
you go.
And Lauren Runte with the Redmond Company.
Can you
Runte
spell your
is
last name?
RUNTE.
Go ahead, Amy.
This is Ajay Singh with K Singh.
Perfect.
Okay. So I just have the landscape plan up on the screen because I think it shows a lot of different elements of the site. This is the property in the southwest corner of Highway 94 and Sun Valley Road, north of the newer Quick Trip, with the old vacant gas station that's been sitting there for many years unused. So they are proposing to redevelop the site and construct a bank with drive-through spaces on the side adjacent to Target. They do need, so the gas station required a conditional use. They will need to surrender that conditional use, and I believe that is ready to go to the Common Council agenda in August. There's really no action. It's them acknowledging that it's been surrendered. So that will go away. The property will no longer be allowed to be used as a gas station unless somebody came back in the future and asked for it again. The bank does meet the zoning district, which is B2 local business, and it meets all of the setback and offset requirements. It's really placed right in the center of the site. They will be significantly reducing impervious surfaces. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's like 70-some% down to 40%. Ajay, am I close? 70,
Yep.
yeah.
That's correct.
Down to 40%. They will put in a new parking lot. They'll meet the parking requirements. They're going to propose 16 spaces. They're required to have 11 for the type of use that's proposed. They did modify their plan slightly so that they had clearance for fire trucks to go around the entire site, so they'll have free and clear clearance. They're eliminating, so right now there's 2 access points to the site, one on the west side and over here on the east side. They are eliminating that east access point, which is closest to 83 and the more unsafe one, so that is a positive change. They will be, they're reducing the impervious surface, so there'll be quite a bit more green space, mowed lawn or turf in the right of way, and then you can see, I know the plan is hard to read, but they do have some plantings. They have a nice mix of shrubs, herbaceous layer for a bank type use while keeping their building visible to the public. They are removing several trees. 4 of them are considered priority, so it's a total of 56 inches of priority trees that will be removed. They're replacing it with 14.5 inches of trees, and so if you approve this plan, they'll have to pay in lieu fees of $3,625. There isn't a lot of vegetation. It would be kind of nice if they added a few trees on this north side, but I can go to real quickly, just touch on the architecture. This is the floor plan. I mean, it's a typical bank floor plan if you reviewed your packets ahead of time. And then I think and I can have Lauren probably describe this better than myself, but it's a 1-story modern type building that they're proposing. It'll have aluminum siding with a wood appearance and gray brick veneer. And then a majority of the building will be like a blended gray with cast stone steel trim pieces. I didn't mention, the dumpsters will be on the north side of the site and will match the coloring scheme of the building. Lighting. Let's see, where's the lighting plan? So they'll have 5 pole lights. The poles themselves will be 25 feet in height. This will be what the top of the pole looks like. The pole will be a steel structure, and then they'll just have 2 lights underneath the canopies of the drive-through canopies. And they did submit a photometric. I am having our engineer take a look at it just to make sure that they comply with all of the ordinance requirements. But I mean, that area, the interesting part is it's so lit up from so many different things that the photometrics are going to be severely altered anyway, I think. So I'm not sure that lighting counts are going to be a major issue. Yeah. Signage, they will be coming back for signage. Right now, if you go drive by there's a pylon sign and there's an existing sign close to the right of way of the road. So they will be proposing some signs which might match or be similar to what's out there. They will come with that at a future date. So with that, they submitted some stormwater management plans. They have been reviewed by our engineering staff. The report should be in the packet. The comments are actually pretty minor in nature. They're proposing grass-lined swales. Because this is a redevelopment site, they just need to meet the 40% reduction in total suspended solids. And because they're reducing those impervious surface so much, they are improving the site conditions. So they do need to meet the conditions of that letter and get a stormwater and erosion control permit before they could start any work. They will have to pay those in lieu mitigation fees if you approve the landscape plan. And the lighting plan should be reviewed by engineering staff. And then again, no signage is proposed or permitted at this time, are the recommended conditions. I do have in here that the Plan Commission should consider whether Public Works Committee approval is required. Dan is not here. He usually chimes in. And Mike Court did speak to Dan, and both of them felt that this site was straightforward enough that it would not be required to go to Public Works, but I would prefer you guys add that in your motion one way or another. What's the name of this road? Sun Valley Road. Mm-hmm. Is in the paving program for this year, and they're actually starting pavement like real soon. So they made a decision, the city made a decision to not pave this area because they're going to disturb it, and ask them to pave the entire width in front of their property.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'll make a recommendation to approve the applicant's request.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Wait.
I got a question.
What's that? Of me? Or them?
No, of them. Just on the north side, you've got that great big swamp oak in there. Would you mind putting in 2 more of those back there, kind of like in a triangle configuration or something? Those will grow to be beautiful, large trees, and it'd be nice to have, a couple more back there. Is that a reasonable ask that you can accommodate?
Yeah, I think what we could do is we could go back to Johnson Financial Group and have that discussion with them. I don't think it would be that big of a problem.
I'm thinking not. I mean, it's a small tree now, but in 50 years, it'll be gorgeous.
Right. Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
we can take that under advisement. Sure.
If you do that, the mitigation fees will go down, just so
Sure.
you know.
I have a couple questions. I have not heard of your bank. I know a lot of banks. Could you tell us a little bit about your bank and how many other locations you are?
Sure. Brent Hess, Lauren can probably help me out here. Brent Hess, who is the CEO of Johnson Financial Group, is unfortunately unable to be here because he is ill. But they are a Milwaukee-based bank.
Okay.
They are affiliated with the Johnson family, the S.E. Johnson family. And they pride themselves on having the prairie style feel to most of or all of their buildings. So this is more what they call the modern chic prairie style. Lauren?
Brent couldn't come at the last second. But they do have many locations in Wisconsin, including the Racine area, Madison area. I know I drive by one every day in the Pewaukee area, and they have another location in Brookfield. And they did just open a location downtown Milwaukee.
Okay. Do you tend to be a little smaller structures for your banks? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With exception of the Milwaukee location.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just had to know. Ready?
Any other questions or Tim's chat?
Well, I had one point I wanted to bring up to clarify, Amy, the paving in front of the road. I don't know if that's something we can work out through the permitting process, but we're no longer bringing in new laterals from the road. And that is something Johnson Financial Group asked us to clarify with Delafield. Since we're tying into the existing laterals that stub out into the site already, there would be no need really to get into the road.
So that's part of the engineering report. So I would work with the engineering staff and the administrator and make sure that you're not impacting it. And hopefully they haven't started because they may have already canceled your portion of the road. So I would call Mike Court right away tomorrow morning, and I can talk to him too. And
Sure,
we have an internal meeting tomorrow morning as well. So I think that can be dealt with outside of the Plan Commission as part of the stormwater review. Would you agree?
Yes.
That's more of a administrative staff issue.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, now we're looking for a
All right,
motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend the applicant's request, subject to the 4 items in the planner's report, along with staff recommendations on tree landscaping specific to some swamp oaks, and staff reconciling street paving plans for, what's that road?
Sun Valley.
Sun Valley Road.
Amy, did you want something in there about no?
Public Works,
review?
yeah.
Yeah, and without necessity of going to Public Works Commission for review.
I'll second.
Okay, great. Is there any discussion?
Who had the second? Okay.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Wonderful. We've been waiting a long time to get that gas station redone.
I like that.
Long time, so
like
thank
that-
you.
I like
Thank
that
you,
open
thank you,
pantry
thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
All right, thank you, everybody.
I thought I turned that off. I really
Oh, you
did.
signaled the end of the
Almost
meeting.
made it. Okay, number 11, report of city officials. A, planning commission meeting, dates and deadlines. Regular meeting, August 31st, 2022. Regular meeting submittal deadline, that's earlier this time, August 3rd, 2022. I'll refer you to B. Do you have anything to add, Amy? You're good.
I am good.
Okay, for you to B, correspondence in the packet. Planner has nothing to add. C, building inspector is not present. So therefore, with seeing no further business, this meeting is now adjourned at 9 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
I didn't think people appreciate how funny this is. You know how much trouble I get in when
I have a quick question for you.
I print out.
You stayed the whole time.
That's why I've been sitting here the whole time.